I had always been curious about online dating, but I never had the courage to try it until I met Alexander. He seemed like a nice guy, smart, funny, and charming. We matched on a popular dating app and started chatting. He asked me about my hobbies, my work, my family, and my dreams. He shared his own stories and opinions, and we found out we had a lot in common. He made me laugh and smile, and I felt a connection with him. We exchanged messages for a few weeks, and I enjoyed every conversation. He was respectful and attentive, and he never pressured me for anything. He complimented me on my photos and said he wanted to see me in person. I was flattered and excited, and I agreed to meet him. He suggested a cozy cafe near his place, and we set a date and time. I spent hours getting ready for our meeting. I wanted to look my best and impress him. I chose a cute dress and a matching jacket, and I did my hair and makeup. I felt nervous and happy at the same time. I hoped he would like me as much as I liked him. I took a taxi to the cafe and arrived a few minutes early. I looked around for Alexander, but I didn't see him. I checked my phone and saw a message from him. He said he was running late and asked me to wait for him inside. He apologized and said he would be here soon. I replied that it was okay and that I would wait for him. I entered the cafe and looked for a table. It was a small and cozy place with a few customers and a friendly staff. I found a table near the window and sat down. I ordered a coffee and a muffin, and I waited for Alexander. I checked my phone again and saw another message from him. He said he was almost there and that he couldn't wait to see me. He sent me a heart emoji and a smiley face. I smiled and texted him back. I said I was looking forward to meeting him too. I put my phone away and looked out the window. I saw a car pull up in front of the cafe. It was a black sedan with tinted windows. I wondered if it was Alexander's car. I watched as the car door opened and 3 men got out. They were wearing dark clothes and sunglasses, and they looked suspicious. They walked towards the cafe, and I felt a chill run down my spine. Something was wrong. I grabbed my purse and got up from my table. I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. I headed for the door, but it was too late. The men entered the cafe and spotted me. They rushed towards me and grabbed me. They were strong and rough, and they dragged me outside. I screamed and struggled, but no one helped me. The cafe staff and customers were too scared to intervene. The men threw me into the car and slammed the door. They got in and drove away. I was terrified and confused. I didn't know what was happening or why. I looked at the men and saw their faces. They were cold and cruel, and they had no mercy. They laughed and taunted me, and they said they had a surprise for me. They said they were Alexander's friends, and that he had set me up. They said he was not a real person, but a fake profile they had created to lure me in. They said they were part of a criminal gang, and that they had a plan for me. They said they were going to rob me, hurt me, and sell me. I felt a surge of anger and betrayal. I couldn't believe that Alexander was a lie, and that he had betrayed me. I couldn't believe that I had fallen for his trap, and that I had been so naive and trusting. I cursed him and his friends, and I swore I would get revenge. I tried to fight back, but it was useless. They had a gun and a knife, and they threatened to kill me if I resisted. They took my purse and my phone, and they searched me for valuables. They found my necklace and my earrings, and they ripped them off me. They hurt me and made me bleed. They made me cry and beg for mercy. They made me wish I was dead. They drove for a long time, and I didn't know where they were taking me. I prayed for someone to save me, but no one came. I felt hopeless and helpless, and I gave up. I closed my eyes and waited for the end. But the end didn't come. Instead, I heard sirens and saw flashing lights. I opened my eyes and saw police cars and motorcycles surrounding us. I heard gunshots and screams, and I saw blood and smoke. I realized that the police had found us and that they were trying to stop the criminals. I felt a surge of hope and relief. I hoped they would save me, and that they would arrest the criminals. I hoped they would make them pay for what they had done to me. The car stopped and the doors opened. The men got out and tried to run, but the police caught them. They handcuffed them and threw them into the police cars. They searched the car and found me. They opened the door and helped me out. They'd asked me if I was okay, and they said they were sorry for what had happened to me. They said they had been tracking the criminals for a long time, and that they had finally caught them. They said they had been using fake online profiles to lure unsuspecting victims, and that they had robbed and harmed many people. They said they had traced their phone calls and messages, and that they had followed their car. They said they had arrived just in time, and that they had saved me. I thanked them and hugged them. I felt grateful and lucky. I had survived a nightmare, and I had escaped a fate worse than death. I had been rescued by the police, and I had been given a second chance. I had learned a valuable lesson, and I had changed my perspective. I had realized the dangers of online dating, and I had decided to be more careful in the future. I had realized the importance of trust and honesty, and I had decided to look for real and genuine people. I had realized the value of life and happiness, and I had decided to appreciate them more. I had been through a lot, but I had not given up. I had been hurt, but I had not lost hope. I had been betrayed, but I had not stopped believing. I had been a victim, but I had become a survivor. I had been Maria, but I had become a new person. I had been chatting with Katie for a few weeks, and I was really looking forward to meeting her in person. She seemed like the perfect girl for me. Smart, funny, kind, and beautiful. We had so much in common, from our hobbies to our dreams. She told me she was a nurse who loved helping people, and I admired her passion and dedication. I was a software engineer who enjoyed creating new things and solving problems. We both wanted to travel the world someday and see new places and cultures. We decided to meet at a coffee shop near her place, as she said it was her favorite spot to relax and unwind. She sent me a picture of herself, smiling and holding a cup of coffee, and told me she would be wearing a blue dress and a red scarf. I replied with a picture of myself, wearing a black jacket and a green shirt, and told her I couldn't wait to see her. She said she felt the same way, and that she would be there in 15 minutes. I'd arrived at the coffee shop a few minutes early and scanned the place for her. It was a cozy and warm place, with wooden tables and chairs, and a fireplace in the corner. There were a few people inside, mostly couples and friends, chatting and laughing. I didn't see anyone who matched Katie's description, so I decided to wait outside and look for her. I stood near the entrance, holding a bouquet of roses that I had bought for her. I wanted to make a good impression and show her how much I cared. I checked my phone for any messages from her, but there was nothing. I figured she was on her way and that she would be here soon. I waited for a few more minutes, but still no sign of her. I started to feel a bit anxious and worried. Maybe she was stuck in traffic or had some emergency at work. Maybe she had changed her mind or had forgotten about our date. Maybe she was not who she said she was. I shook off those thoughts and tried to stay positive. I told myself that she was probably just running late and that she would show up any minute. I decided to give her a call and see if everything was okay. I dialed her number and waited for her to answer. But instead of hearing her voice, I heard a recorded message. The number you have dialed is not in service. Please check the number and try again. I was stunned. I checked the number again, and it was the same one she had given me. I tried calling her again, but got the same message. I felt a surge of confusion and fear. What was going on? Who was she? Was she a scammer? A catfish? A criminal? I didn't have time to think, as I suddenly felt a sharp pain in the back of my head. I dropped my phone and the roses and fell to the ground. I saw stars and heard ringing in my ears. I tried to get up, but I felt someone grab my arms and legs and drag me into a nearby alley. I looked up and saw two men wearing masks and gloves holding me down. They were big and muscular and looked like they meant business. One of them had a baseball bat and the other had a knife. They looked at me with cold and cruel eyes, and I knew I was in trouble. "Hey, buddy, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time," the one with the bat said. "We've been watching you for a while, and we know you've got some nice stuff on you. Your wallet, your phone, your watch, your laptop. We'll take them all, and anything else you've got. And if you try to resist or scream or call for help, we'll make sure you regret it." He swung the bat at my face, and I felt a crunch in my nose. I felt blood gush out of my nostrils and tears sting my eyes. I cried out in pain and tried to free myself, but they were too strong. "Shut up, you little worm," the one with the knife said. "You should have known better than to trust some random girl on the internet. She doesn't exist, you know. She's just a fake profile we made to lure suckers like you. We've been doing this for a while, and you're not the first one to fall for it. You're just another victim, another mark, another fool." He stabbed me in the chest, and I felt a sharp pain in my heart. I gasped for air and felt my life slipping away. I saw their faces blur and the alley fade. I thought of Katie and how I had hoped to meet her. I thought of how she had lied to me and betrayed me. I thought of how I had wasted my time and my money and my life. I closed my eyes. I had always been a lonely guy. Ever since I moved to Seattle for work, I had no friends or family nearby. I spent most of my time in front of my computer, working as a software engineer for a big tech company. I was good at what I did, but I felt empty inside. I longed for someone to share my life with, someone who would understand me and love me for who I was. That's why I joined an online dating site. I thought maybe I could find my soulmate there, someone who would match my interests and personality. I browsed through hundreds of profiles, but none of them caught my eye, until I saw her. Her name was Anna. She had long blonde hair, blue eyes, and a cute smile. She said she was a nurse, and that she liked reading, hiking, and watching movies. She seemed perfect for me. I sent her a message, hoping she would reply. To my surprise, she did. She said she liked my profile and that she wanted to get to know me better. We started chatting, and soon we were exchanging messages every day. She was funny, smart, and kind. She made me feel happy and hopeful. She said she felt the same way about me. We decided to take our relationship to the next level. We agreed to meet in person and see if we had the same chemistry offline. She suggested a coffee shop near her place, and I agreed. I was nervous and excited at the same time. I couldn't wait to see her face, to hear her voice, to hold her hand. I arrived at the coffee shop a few minutes early. I looked around, but I didn't see her. I checked my phone, but there was no message from her. I thought maybe she was running late or had trouble finding the place. I decided to wait for her inside. I walked into the coffee shop and scanned the tables. There were only a few customers, mostly couples or groups of friends. I didn't see anyone who looked like Anna. I felt a pang of disappointment, but I tried to stay positive. Maybe she was in the bathroom or had stepped outside for a moment. I ordered a latte and sat down at a table near the window. I checked my phone again, but still no sign of her. I started to worry. What if she had changed her mind? What if she had met someone else? What if she was playing a cruel joke on me? I decided to call her. I dialed her number and waited for her to answer, but instead of hearing her voice, I heard a recorded message. "The number you have dialed is not in service. Please check the number and try again." I was stunned. I checked the number again, but it was the same one she had given me. I tried to call her again, but I got the same message. I felt a surge of anger and confusion. What was going on? Had she given me a fake number? Had she lied to me about everything? I felt someone tap me on the shoulder. I turned around and saw a man standing behind me. He was tall and muscular, with short brown hair and a stubbly beard. He wore a leather jacket and jeans and had a menacing look on his face. "Are you Paul?" he asked in a low voice. I nodded, feeling uneasy. Who was he? How did he know my name? "Good. Come with me," he said, grabbing my arm. I tried to resist, but he was too strong. He dragged me out of the coffee shop and pushed me into a black van parked outside. There were 2 other men inside, both wearing ski masks and holding guns. They pointed their weapons at me and told me to shut up. I was terrified. I realized I had been set up. Anna was not real. She was part of a scheme to lure me into a trap. These men were kidnappers, and they wanted money from me. They drove me to a remote warehouse where they tied me to a chair and beat me up. They demanded a ransom of $100,000 and threatened to kill me if I didn't pay. They said they had contacted my family and that they had 24 hours to deliver the money. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have that kind of money, and neither did my family. I begged them to let me go, to spare my life. I told them I was just a lonely guy looking for love. I told them I had nothing to do with their business. I told them they had made a mistake, but they didn't listen. They laughed at me and mocked me. They said I was a fool and that I deserved to die. They said they had done this before and that they knew how to get away with it. They said they had no mercy and no remorse. They left me alone in the dark, bleeding and bruised. I felt hopeless and helpless. I wondered if anyone would ever find me, or if I would die here. I wondered if Anna was real, or if she was just a figment of my imagination. I wondered if I would ever find love, or if I would die alone. I cried and prayed and waited. Days passed, each one more agonizing than the last. I had lost track of time in that cold, damp warehouse. Every moment felt like an eternity as I struggled against my restraints, both physical and emotional. But just when I had started to lose hope completely, a glimmer of light pierced through the darkness. It began with faint noises outside the warehouse, voices murmuring and footsteps echoing. At first, I thought it might be my captors returning to torment me further. But as the sounds grew louder, I realized it was something else entirely. Suddenly, the door burst open, flooding the room with blinding light. I squinted against the sudden brightness, hardly daring to believe what I was seeing. A group of police officers stormed into the warehouse, their guns drawn and expressions grim. "Paul? Are you Paul?" One of them called out, scanning the room frantically. Weakly, I managed to nod, tears of relief streaming down my bruised cheeks. The officers rushed toward me, quickly untying my bindings and helping me to my feet. It was over. I was safe. As they led me out of the warehouse and into the crisp night air, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude wash over me. These brave men and women had risked their lives to rescue me, a stranger in need. I would never forget their kindness and bravery. Later, as I sat in the back of an ambulance receiving medical attention, I learned how the police had found me. Passers-by had noticed something suspicious about the warehouse and had reported it to the authorities. The police had followed the clues, eventually leading them to the place where I was being held captive. As for my captors, they were swiftly apprehended and taken into custody. Justice would be served, and they would face the consequences of their heinous actions. I felt a sense of closure, knowing that they would never harm anyone else again. But amidst the chaos and relief of my rescue, one question still lingered in my mind. What had happened to Anna? The woman who had lured me into this nightmare with her sweet words and false promises. Was she a victim like me, or had she been a willing accomplice in this cruel scheme? I may never know the truth about Anna, but one thing was certain. I would never again trust so easily. I had learned a valuable lesson about the dangers that lurked in the shadows, and I would carry that knowledge with me always. As I rode in the ambulance toward the safety and comfort of the hospital, I vowed to never take the gift of life for granted again. I had survived the darkest chapter of my life, and now it was time to embrace the light and start anew.